Good morning, afternoon, or good night, everyone. It's nice to be back. Took a couple of days there. Gonna just have a little chat, I guess. Flow for 10 or so minutes. And of course, my birthday's coming up in a little while, and I had certainly wanted to do quite a few things this year. And some of the videos I've put out, I think, reflect that. Working out exactly where I'm trying to go with these studies that I've been engaged in here, and in trying to, really organize and formulate a way to bridge here the gaps, I suppose, in the knowledge of some of this old information on Jesus and the literal interpretation there of the Christian Bible, against how we should really be looking at it in the modern age as a non-literal, allegorical and anagogical, like mystical work. I focused strongly in the first part of this in establishing, I hope, that Jesus is a completely fictional figure. The name itself, Jesus Christ, is a title. The Holy Family there's no knowledge of them at all. Even the Holy Family or the 12 Apostles, these are ancient, mystical, symbolic motifs. They relate to, we can say, many things here. There are a whole array of ancient themes and tropes that come out of the major civilizations of the ancient world, especially the Mediterranean, the Levant and stuff in North Africa. Egypt has a huge role to play in thousands of years before Christ in establishing the guiding myths in Christianity, with Osiris, with Horus, Isis, Mary. And I didn't go through that. I haven't actually been through that yet. But Mary and Christ, or Christ, were actually words used, and that you can find them today on funerary inscriptions, on cartouches and so on. Christ, Horus, and you become a Christ, which was a word used for embalming or burial, or something like that. But it was intricately linked with resurrection. You become a Christ on death. And the idea of mummification was to keep the body preserve it, because you didn't die when you died. The notion here that you were westing, or going through a gate, if you like, into to be, I suppose, judged, looked at, Anup, the baptizer, the crocodile god, was it, weighing the heart, being judged by Osiris in the underworld, the judgment coming with Jesus Christ as well, being quite a strong motif in early Christianity. The judgment comes, the Son of Man. All of these things patch very nicely into a syncretic model here for looking at these old mythologies. And of course, we know well now, we should know if you've watched some of my videos, that the Greek and Roman worlds emulated and imitated literatures. They took motifs and these powerful archetypes there and just rehashed them, reused them, as we do today. You can't really make a great story without using some of these motifs. The helpful old man, as an example, the teacher, the lover, the demonic or the despotic ruler or king or dark king or lord, or even a family member, the evil uncle, Lion King. They're all there, and it has been my hope that in the last few 2 or 3 months we can establish here that we are really dealing with a mythology. And even in the earliest Christian books, the epistles and so on of Paul, when Paul talks of the brother of the Lord, that very likely was not in Paul's original letters. We have Irenaeus, who completely fails to see the brother of the Lord snippet there in the original letter of Galatians. We have Tertullian failing to see it as well in his first mention in one of his first books, Against Marcion 4:3. He cites Galatians but leaves it out. He only finds it in, strangely enough, in a following work about 4 or 5 years later. And it's then in there. I don't know what's happened, but maybe that shows you that there were versions of Galatians that were traveling around that didn't have that brother of the Lord bit. Clement of Alexandria, circa 200, doesn't have, he repeats it in Stromata. It's not there either. So his copy, writing from another city there, it's not there. These are huge problems for Christians, because that's one of the only possible quotes in the whole of his letters there that aren't interpolated or made posthumous after this Paul character lived and are written by another hand, that we see any link to a Lord here in the early epistle writers. That's a big problem. And it's the same with the epistle of James. He never relates himself to Jesus as his brother. He never says that. He's Jude's brother, but what's happening? The gospel writers are coming along chronologically. Now we can say coming along later on, and then looking at these characters and saying, how can we write these people into a story? The nativity stories of Matthew and Luke. I was watching something this morning, having a coffee. There are myriad problems, if we want to be historical, with the two birth narratives. Huge ones. And they clearly just muddle history entirely. They make farcical accounts of censuses across the whole of the Roman Empire, which never happened, which would have been a bureaucratic nightmare. Not history, not viable history. So I'm trying to tell us, everyone here, you all, that Christianity needs an upgrade now. We can't mess around with these things anymore. It is ridiculous to see people reverting back to Christianity in the modern time through political reasons, because they don't have communities and they don't have a strong sense of who they are. And they're going back to Christianity because it's filling a little gap. But what are they doing to their minds here? It's best to think of these things as great stories and powerful and profound mythic tales with moral teachings. And that's fine. That's what I take from these stories. They are true, but they didn't happen in history. They resonate with the very fabric of our the way we relate to others in the real world. They are massively important. And of course, they're found all over the pagan world. Empty tombs, resurrections, virgin births. It's all there. Christians don't like talking about this, but it's my hope that we can really begin to help Christians understand that it's not worth going back to a religion here that stultified Europe, kept Europe in the dark for hundreds of years, if not about 1,000 years, with church fathers who were blatantly ignorant and who wanted to keep people, I suppose, who unintentionally, I suppose, some of them didn't want people to think very much and just wanted people to focus on Jesus, focus on the Lord. And I understand that. This notion of the profound and the higher, the meta, is something we can all feel. And people called it Jesus, and people called it the Lord. But it's all of these things can be penetrated now. These histories, these stories need to be understood for what they are. There are no evidences for Christianity at all, archaeologically, or in any written record in the 1st century. We have stuff like the Talpiot tomb and the James ossuary, but these are not credibly and certainly not certain to be relics from the Christian era, or ossuaries like bone boxes from people like James, the brother of Jesus. We cannot say that with any certainty whatsoever. I will talk about this in a coming video. I think it's quite interesting. Most scholarship now don't really take it's Christians and people who are hanging on to some kind of historical Jesus, because some of them have written books and they need them to be true. It's bullshit. It's bollocks. No, the weight of evidence is that Jesus Christ never existed. There is a small possibility, I put it at about 5%, and I'm being generous when I say 5%, that there was someone called Jesus, and we don't know what he looked like, but he was there somewhere, and that all records really have been lost. And I can't say with any certainty that the gospel writers knew, because they are anonymous writings attributed to these fellas, but they are not eyewitness accounts. One, not at all. They cannot be. They come too late, and they are attested and read too late, and they are too mythical. They are too mythic in the construction. They resemble mythic writings to the fine details. So why don't we all figure out, if you're on board with this, how we're going to create the next kind of tranche of videos here, so we can push the narrative forward a little more. And I really want to get quite religious here, and I want to talk about the esoteric and the occult more. I've got lots of information on this as well, loads, and I can't wait to start unraveling this stuff and talking about things in our more recent past, and the Renaissance period, the Italian Renaissance, Pico della Mirandola and Marsilio Ficino, the Tudor Renaissance over here, and the again this beautiful hearkening to these ancient ideas which helped us dislocate ourselves from literalist Christianity, so that we can have a lot of fun here and talk about Gnosis, real spiritual Gnosis, because we're all capable there of finding it. And you can be completely atheistic and still have some wonderful experiences. Shaivan Tantrism, Buddhism, Taoism, these beautiful traditions go back longer than Christianity, and have a whole host of a nexus, a core of things that we can all incorporate into our daily lives, and that will help us still our minds, help ourselves control what's up here, and help us live good lives, wholesome lives, focused on truth, on love, on a real understanding of what the way and the path means. Always bringing back and hearkening back to this syncretic religious themes and motifs, because they all tell us the same story, really. They're just couched in a garb or garments that are slightly different, and show us the beautiful cultures that gave birth to these things. You can go to 3, 4, 5 different continents and see the same stories, because we all have we all living the same kind of existence. We all come from the same source. That's a fact. So I'm going to leave that there. But I'm going to crack on with some of these essays. I hope they've been interesting for some people. They are easy for me to make. I've got to say, I'm using ChatGPT a lot, but I know how to converse with ChatGPT to make sure that I'm getting the good stuff for you guys. And a lot of this is dense in quotations and primary sources. That's really what I'm interested in, going right back to the foundations of these texts, of what people were saying about them when they were written or near after. So thank you. Please like and subscribe. I should start saying that a lot more. Have a great day. Nice one. All right.